Hey everyone, welcome to the Darren Daily Consistency Challenge live Q&A. My name is Mariana. I'm with the A-Team and I am the director of Darren Daily Production. And you might have heard my voice on Darren Daily On Demand. We're so excited to have you all here for the live Q&A. Congratulations on completing the 90-day consistency challenge on Darren Daily. I hope that you've seen some really noticeable changes in your life, not just from watching Darren Daily, but from the spread of consistency throughout your life. So one of my favorite things, real quick, that I want to share with you so far has been looking back through the notes that I've taken over the past 90 days that I have tracked in my Darren Daily journal right here. If you don't have a Darren Daily journal, you can get your own copy over at DarrenDailyJournal.com. Okay, so before I bring Darren on, I want to hear where everybody's coming from. So there is a chat beside the video, and I want to hear where you're coming from. Tell us where you're logging in from, what your name is. Let us know where you're from. Anybody want to share? I promise Darren will be here soon. Well, we have some great questions planned for today. Darren will be on in just a few minutes. We have 8 fantastic Darren Daily members who will be sharing their questions that they submitted. Okay, we have a few people chiming in. We have some people from San Diego, Australia, Liverpool, the UK. Wow. Oh, we have somebody from India. We have Martin's from Liverpool. We have Bradley from Houston, Texas. Hey, go Texas. I'm in Texas too. Elvin from Tyler, Texas. Welcome, everybody. Okay, you guys are getting the hang of this. Give me some more. Tell me where you're coming to us from and what you're excited to hear most today. Because like I said, we have some great questions that are really going to help you take yourself to the next level after this consistency challenge. So we have Sean from Philadelphia. Welcome, Sean. Let me see. We have somebody from Toronto, Canada. Wow, we got people coming from all over the world. Congratulations on completing the consistency challenge. Thank you for joining us today. I hope that you are as excited as I am. I hope that you can tell how excited I am to be here and be able to bring everybody to you. We will get started here in just a few more minutes. Let me see who else we have coming live. Yes, Elvin, consistency is a discipline. You're going to hear more about that from Darren today for sure. We have Andy joining us from Birmingham, England. Man, you guys are just from all over the place. What time is it over there in that side of the world? So let's, all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to the man who really needs no introduction, because you hopefully meet with him every single morning here on Darren Daily. So I don't need to tell you who it is, but I'm going to go and hand this over to Darren to get us started.
Is that me live? Hello, world, and welcome. I see your head bobbing, Mariana. So we must be live. We're early. I guess if you're not early, you're late. That's the way it works here, at least on the Darren Hardy A-Team. So I am gonna give everybody a minute. I do want to respect promptness. At least that's what it shows on my computer. Unless you're working from a PC, and then the time would be inaccurate. But I'm on a Mac, so we're gonna go with Mac time, right? California-based Mac time. So welcome everybody. I did see that we got people on from India and the UK and China and Singapore and all over. Okay, it's 10 o'clock. So welcome to the Darren Daily Consistency Campaign Payoff. And I just want to say, first off, really proud of all of you. Lack of consistency is the Achilles heel of the human condition. this is where everybody falls down. There's a lot of talented, smart, amazing people who have such incredible capabilities, but they ruin their marriages, they ruin their bodies, they ruin their relationships with their children, they fail in business, they destroy friendships because they can't be consistent. And, as a species for hundreds of thousands of years, we didn't live very long. And we didn't know where our next meal was coming from. And we didn't diet. I mean, as a matter of fact, if we found food, we ate all we possibly could because we didn't know where our next meal was coming from. We didn't save for retirement. We didn't need college funds, and we didn't wait for marriage in order to try to procreate. And that's how we've been for 99% of our entire existence. So that's the reason why consistency is so difficult for us in the modern age. It is literally going against our survival instinct of what compels us to try to satiate ourselves at every temptation. So for all of you to have made the distance and to fight back that proclivity in our human nature is truly more exceptional than you realize. To stay consistent over the long time horizon means that you're fighting that evolutionary impulse. And that's the reason why in modern society that resolutions fail, people don't achieve goals, they fall off diets, they cheat on their spouses, they go broke, they go bankrupt because they just can't stay consistent. So you have demonstrated that, and you are the exception. So I have been just immensely impressed and proud of how the Darren Daily community has stuck with this. I thought we might get a few hundred, maybe a few thousand, but we had tens of thousands of people who showed up consistently every day for 90 days. And that's just truly remarkable. It's really rare, and it is, in fact, the exception. So before I invite our first person, our first illustrious Darren Daily member to ask a question, I just want to tell you that we see you every morning. I don't know if you're old enough to remember the program that I grew up on as a little kid called Romper Room. And I can't remember her name, but she would look through a glassless mirror and say, I see you, and I see you, and I see Johnny, and I see Sally, and I see Mary. And all she was saying is, I see you. And I just want you to know that we see you every morning, those that show up, and those that comment, and those that encourage each other. And so as we interweave between questioners, I just want to call out some names that we see more often than others. And just to point out, we possibly couldn't point out all 10,000, but I just want to mention some of the more remarkable ones that we just see really showing up and encouraging the community. So Bruce Corkill, Sean Elias, Carrie West, Karen Johnson Snell, Kenny Delegati, Bill Keene, Sean Stanton, Bob Riddick, Patty Martin, Keith Nichols, Lori Cathcart, and Eric Francom. And those last 6 of those I recognize as HBF alumni as well. So these are prominent members of our community. And I will continue to see many more of you as we go through this process here. And before also we invite our first Darren Daily member, I just want to point out some of the A-team that works so hard to deliver Darren Daily for you every single morning. You've met now Mariana in person. She is the producer behind Darren Daily. She makes sure that the whole production happens, soup to nuts, start to finish. And her and Mary make sure that you get that communication every single morning. She's also the producer of Darren Daily On Demand. In fact, if it wasn't for her, we probably wouldn't have it. She kind of took that whole burden on her shoulders and made it happen. So I just want to give her a shout out. And then Chris, who does all of our design, makes everything look great in the updated Darren Daily newsletter, and the way that this page looks and all the stuff that you see coming out visually is part of his narrative, and couldn't do it without him. And then Seth and Sharon make sure that those communications are solid, and so make sure that your emails are coming through and so forth. Heather runs the whole tech department to make sure that that everything doesn't implode. Allie, who you meet on the Be the Exception group, and she runs all of our social media, making sure that we continue to expand our Darren Daily community. Our whole Unicorn Squad, it's our member experience team. They're so magical and mystical that we call them the Unicorn Squad. That's run by their leader, Brenda, who's there helping you on the front lines every single day. And then our 2 head honchos, Maggie and Kylie, run the entire A-team. And they're really my right right hand to all of what we do as an enterprise. And there are many other A team members, but they might not be directly related to what it is that we're doing every single day with Darren Daily, but they're making the rest of the enterprise possible. So with that, Mariana, maybe you can invite on our first Darren Daily member question. Oh, are you going to introduce them, or are you just going to pop them on? Oh,
I guess I just popped on.
That's you, buddy.
Yeah. Darren, it's great to see you again. My name's Eric Colette. I'm coming to you from Boise, Idaho. And it's wonderful to be with the Darren Daily community to ask my question, which is this. So in your books, in Insane Productivity, at the High Performance Forum, you talk so much about the importance of identifying your vital priorities and then doing a self-assessment to figure out what skills you're lacking in and investing right up front in the books and the courses and the mentorship that you need to be able to become what you aren't yet, and to do it right up front and plan out your year and carve out time to do it. But there are a lot of resources out there. There's tons of books, tons of voices. So I'm really interested to know, when you're trying to develop a new skill and it's something kind of unfamiliar to you, what is your process, Darren, for vetting the material and knowing that you're choosing only the best of the best to really study and devote your time to?
Yeah, this is definitely something I can help you with. That's a beautiful painting there back there. I like the little setup you got going on there.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, looks great. Looks great.
That's a local area here, so yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. So learning to attack personal development has been my superpower. I would not be able to speak with all of you today if I had not perfected this particular power in particular. And if there's anything that I can help you with today, this would be the thing I can really help with, because not only has this been my personal pursuit for my life since I was 18 years old, but it's been my business for 25 plus years. I had to curate the entire success media industry through the 3 television networks that I led to decide who was going to have their own television programs and who was going to be profiled on our networks, but also with publishing Success Magazine for nearly a decade. So yes, being a central curator, you refine some skills by demand pretty quickly. And by way of background, some of you might also feel this way. You know, as an up-and-coming kid, I never really felt particularly gifted or smart or athletic. Like I succeeded at the things because I worked really, really freaking hard at it, and I had to learn how to get an edge because, again, the whole academic didn't come naturally. I worked at it, I got great grades, but it was hard work. Same thing with sports, same things with pretty much every area of my life. And, I've got 1 semester of college, but what happened is at 18, I found personal development, and that blew off the lid to my capabilities. The most important thing I learned how to learn. And as a result of that, I found myself getting into 12 different industries by happenstance. One door led to another and led to another. And whether it was real estate or early childhood education or environmental products or educational software or canine consumer products or hospitality, media or television or publishing, industries that I was never trained for, industries I had no experience in or prior relationships in. But because I learned how to learn, I could always find a way to get an advantage, get an edge. And so there's 5 distinctions. You might want to write this down. If you guys have notes, I would suggest that you write these 5 distinctions down. So I'm gonna spend some time giving you the answer to this particular question, because this is the one thing that I know for sure. Okay, but I have to die and I have to write my own a bit. I'm going to say, well, this is the one thing he knew for sure, and that is how to curate personal development. So there's 5 distinctions. Number 1 is the difference between just-in-case learning and just-in-time learning. Number 2 will be learning versus study. Number 3 will be your attack plan and going wide and then deep. And then 4 will be marinate versus measure. And 5 will be skill versus wisdom. And I'll take you through each of those, but I just want to give you a preview. So number 1 is just in case versus just in time. So success seekers consume way too much information, and that information is often disjointed. And just in case information, all this that they're, this blog, this article, this podcast, this person's, new program and so forth, they just don't want to miss out due to their FOMO, fear of missing out, compulsion. Thus, they end up ingesting all sorts of conflicting and, conflicting information, conflicting ideas, bombarding their brain. And we know that a confused mind is a paralyzed mind, and it causes more confusion. They become perplexed, they become overwhelmed and really stunted. A deer in a headlight does nothing. It just freezes. And that's what you do to your brain. So in reality, the fundamentals of success are ridiculously simple. It is our emotional monkey brain that complicates it because of all of our emotional tendencies. So I personally believe more in just-in-time learning, meaning I learn something for a purpose, for something I'm specifically working on at that moment. So I focus almost all of my attention on a skill or a subject that I'm working on now. And that obviously changes as my goals change and as my skills evolved. Okay, so that's number one, just in time versus just in case. Number two is learning less and studying more. Again, in an information age, every achiever, is just overwhelming themselves with too much learning. They're actually just over learning, and again, it's causing paralysis. Learning is not what we lack. In fact, I think that's what's bottlenecking us. We have a never-ending flow of ideas and tips and quotes and suggestions and advice that's constantly being pumped at us, and we're swimming in a sea of infinite information, and we paddle like crazy just to try to keep our nose and lips above the surface before we actually drown in it all, and it can be exhausting. So, we read an article, and then we move on to the next article. We listen to an audio, then we listen to the next audio. We listen to the podcast, we listen to the next podcast. We finish a book, then we start the next book without doing anything about it. And therein lies the problem. We're reading a lot, we're seemingly learning a lot, but we're never stopping long enough to actually digest, contemplate, act, review, improve on anything that we have learned. It really all has no impact on us whatsoever. We all know by now that knowledge is not power. It's the potential of power, but it's what you do with that knowledge where the power lies. And never before have we had a society filled with so much knowledgeable failures. So learning is not the problem. It's the lack of real study, and implementation is. Okay, that's number two. Number three is the attack plan, the specific plan. Okay, so I'm going to give it to you. I've given it to you on Darren Daily before, but I'm going to give it to you in this context to tell you a little bit more about it. Okay, it's the 1-1-5-3-1-30-30-10-10 plan. Okay, it's not as complicated as it sounds. Number one is starting out with why. Okay, you're approaching your learning. Okay, why? Meaning, who am I and what am I working on becoming? You got to first answer that question if you want to find a just-in-time focus. What is your definition of success? What is your definition of progress? Make sure that the learning you're focusing on is lining up with that. So that means, number one, what's my number one goal associated to who it is that I'm trying to become? And number two, what is my number one skill that I'm trying to work on in order to achieve that goal, in order to become that person I'm trying to become? Okay, so that's the one part. Then the what. What is it that you're going to study? That means as soon as I identify that skill I'm going to work on that's related to that goal, to who it is that I'm becoming, then I go out and immediately buy the top 5 books on that particular skill subject, the top 3 audio or video training programs on that skill subject, and I sign up for 1 seminar, 1 workshop, 1 virtual training program specific to that skill. Now, if you're saying, well, what books and what audios and what seminar? Ask your mentors. And here's who the mentor should be. The person who has the skill, has the life, has the results that you want. Don't go ask any idiot that, don't ask a fat person how to diet. Don't ask a person who's out of shape what exercise program. Don't ask somebody who's broke what you should do with your finances. Find the person who has what it is that you want and ask them, what did they read? What did they listen to? Who did they follow? And so find people that are generally living the life that you want, people who are at the top of your industry, people who are the best in your company, and ask them what they've read, what they've listened to, and what they've gone to. Let that be your guide. And then after that, you got Amazon reviews, right? And then, then when? We're all so freaking busy. We just deluge ourselves with, one to-do list after another. So when do you do all this personal development? It just sounds like a burden. It's not that complicated. In your morning routine, you watch your Darren Daily, and then you read for 30 minutes. You literally could get through all 5 of those books, reading 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. Take the weekends off, because who wants too much personal development, right? And you'll go through all 5 of those books within the first month and a half to 2 months. And then you spend the back half of the quarter doing what it is that I'll tell you next. 30 minutes of listening. So in your morning commute, if you're not commuting anymore, like we're not anymore, I go on a walk every day for an hour. And that's when I'm doing my audio personal development. And it's fantastic. It's part of kind of, keeping sanity in this whole lockdown isolation stuff. Everybody can walk. And if you can't walk, then, then roll your wheelchair for 30 minutes a day. So then once you have this width of 5 books, 3 audios, one seminar workshop. Then I want you to go deep. In my experience, it is much better to find a single voice, a single character to connect with and to grow to be more like. Invest deeply with that one person. You see, I was running a television network with all these thought leaders that we were presenting on our network, or running Success Magazine. I had contributors that I was interviewing and people that we were profiling every single month, right? That was deluged with all the experts and thought leaders and so forth. And so in order to keep my sanity, I always went back to one person. That one person for me was Jim Rohn. And so I just went through his material over and over and over again. I got everything that he's ever produced times 5. I repurchased it over and over and over again as I moved. And as you know, I forgot where that one was, forgot that I already owned it. And so I hope that I could be that person for you. I hope that I could be that one person. It's like, I'm going to stick with this person. I like it. I resonate. It's simple. It's clear. I got a plan. And all I need to do is just stay on that track. Just rinse and repeat, because the fundamentals of success are simple. You don't need to learn anything more. You just need to do what it is that you know. And that means sticking with a voice that you can count on. And then, continue to collect thoughts and ideas. And if you find somebody else in a particular area, again, I would suggest that you go wide to figure out who's out there and what's out there, and then immediately find the one that you resonate with and go deep with. Okay, now you're going to say, well, how do I pay for all this person at the bottom? This stuff is expensive. My God, you guys charge so much money for this, right? And it's like, wow, what is the price of a better future? What is the price of becoming a better spouse, being a better parent to your kids, growing a business that's successful, being a leader to the people that you count on, right? It's the best investment you possibly can make. But I learned, and some of you heard this on Darren Daily, the best advice I ever got in my life, bar none, was from Brian Tracy at 18, who said, take 10 cents out of every dollar you earn from this point forward and carve it out to help other people. We all know that ancient philosophy of tithing. And he said, take another 10 cents out of that dollar and carve it out to tithe to yourself. Reinvest it in your personal development. And he says, if you do that, I promise you, you'll get a 30-to-1 return to your bottom line. And I've gotten way more than a 30-to-1 return on that philosophy that I've kept since I was 18 years old. This is what has separated me from everybody else. This is the reason why I was able to rise above everybody else in every industry that I entered, not having any experience in any of those industries prior. This is how you can become that exceptional father, that exceptional husband, that exceptional mother, wife, leader, contributor, by these kinds of growth in investments, investing in the growth and development of yourself. So now I know a lot of you are going to say, okay, but I watch Darren Daily. I listen to podcasts. I read blogs, and that's groovy and that's great, but that's not enough. And it's not even close, right? I mean, it doesn't even get you into the arena. The reason is that you only actually pay attention to what it is that you pay for. Unfortunately, that's the way our brain works. It's a real phenomenon. I think it's for 2 reasons. Number one is, this is what happens inside the brain. Number one, the very act of paying for something is probably the greatest personal development act you'll make. Because if the payment is sizable and it's not just a book, it's the very act of paying for it that is declarative. It's declarative to your brain, to yourself, that you are worth it, that your better future is worth it. It is a statement of self-identity. It is a statement of self-belief. And that's half the battle. Half the battle is self-belief. Look at what we invest in. We invest in a TV. We invest in a couch. We invest in a new pair of pants or shoes. But your personal growth and development, I don't know why that's different. And when you do make that investment, you cross the line. You cross the line. The second thing I believe happens is that you now are committed to getting something out of it. You want to get a return on that money. Now that you've got your skin in the game, you've got something at stake, you got your wallet on the table, you're compelled to make it worth it. You pay great attention, you're more likely to apply it, you're more likely to follow through, you're more likely to review and approve on what it is that you've invested in. The greatest, financial advisor oracle of all time is Warren Buffett. And when asking what's the best investment you can make in this economy, in this marketplace, and so forth, his answer was flatly plain and simple. He said, investing in yourself is the most important investment you'll ever make in your life. There's no financial investment that'll ever match it, because if you develop more skill, more ability, more insight, more capability, that's what's really going to provide economic freedom. That's what's really going to, those skills are what's really going to make it happen. So listen, I am endlessly fascinated at how few people actually do this. They want to be more successful. They say it. They write goals. They make resolutions to be more successful. They actually end up seeking out the resources to do so. They even show up. But then when it comes to stepping over the line, to actually paying for something, to commit to an investment in themselves, they step back into the shadows. It's weird. I mean, it's fascinating. But we're talking about what it takes to be the exception, to become what others won't, so that you can have what others don't, so that you can experience what others will never, so that you can contribute at a scale that others cannot. So that's number 3. Number 4 is marinate versus measure. Okay, it's the difference between Darren Daily. Darren Daily is about marinating your brain. It's about just orienting your mind, eyes, and ears for that day. It's starting you off in a positive expectancy. That's it. It's a marination of clearing that water glass from the clutter and the dirt that the world shoves onto you on a daily basis. But then there's Jumpstart, like what we're doing with Jumpstart. Jumpstart is about skill development. It's about behavioral design. It's about lifestyle engineering. We're going to get you to apply. We're going to get you to change your circumstances and environment so that it can change your behavior. It's about actual behavior modification. So it's the difference between marinating your brain versus measuring for results. So that's the difference between Darren Daily and even Jumpstart. So that's number 4. And number 5 is skill versus wisdom. And this one took me a little while to get to. I've learned in my older age now the importance of not just learning for skills, but also learning for wisdom's sakes. That means, and this is usually my time off, like weekends and vacations and so forth, that I'll listen to or read things that have nothing to do with my skills in my business. Maybe it's something in classical literature. Maybe it's music history or humanities. Maybe it's stories about other people's lives that are in different times in history or less fortunate circumstances, simply to help me become more aware, more wise, and probably a more emotionally intelligent, compassionate human being. So the bottom line is if I can serve as an example for you here, while I might have come from a dysfunctional upbringing, I might not have started with any unique intelligence, talents, or ability, and I might have one semester of a formal education from college, I might be the most educated person you've ever sat before, based on the education, training, and development that I have had over the last 31 years now, right? Due to my 10 cents out of every dollar that I've earned from that point being reinvested into the growth and development of my personal development. And the difference between who I am today, what I have created, what I have been able to contribute, compared to what I would have been without this investment, I mean, that difference is priceless. My wife's birthday, her 50th birthday was just yesterday. And we were able to do something for her mother that was extraordinary. And it made my wife happier than I've ever known her. She was not as happy on our wedding day. She was not as happy on our honeymoon. She was not as happy on our 10-year anniversary than she has been the last 2 weeks, because we were able to do this for her mother. And without personal development, I couldn't have done it. The rest of her siblings couldn't do it, not even a chance. So what is that worth, right? To make a small investment? So I know that's a long answer, but I wanted to, this is the one thing I certainly most definitely can help the Darren Daily community with, is how to vet and to identify and to be specific and to be purposeful about your growth and development, because we're just swimming in a sea of information and I don't see a lot of people growing. I see a lot of people being overwhelmed. I see a lot of overmotivated underachievers, but I don't see a lot of people growing. And so you got to be very intentional and very specific and very strategic about how it is that you channel your personal growth and development. And the same amount of time can get you, miles ahead of everybody else. So I appreciate the question very much. Mariana, maybe you can bring on our next Darren Daily member, and please introduce your
I'm happy to introduce the next person. There we go. So the next one amazing Darren Daily member is Karen. She's been a member for over a year, and she is a proud alum of our Insane Productivity program as well. So here's Karen.
Hi, Darren. Thank you so much for having me on your show. And I appreciate you selecting my question and for being my mentor for over a year. And you definitely came at a time in my life where I needed you, and you seemed to say the perfect things I needed to hear every day. So here's my question. I used to be very regimented and consistent. Like the hours of my day were scheduled, by the hour to a fault. So what I realized was that I was prioritizing a lot of good things over, a lot of more of the best things that I couldn't anticipate. I mean, you kind of touched on that with your last thing with like your wife's birthday, things like that. Or I mean, you could anticipate that, but sometimes things would come up I couldn't anticipate, or sometimes I would just be blind to it. I would just focus more on my schedule because I had, and I would be very productive, but I felt like I was prioritizing the wrong things. And so I've relaxed a little bit since then, but now I'm struggling a little bit with trying to go back to that consistency. I kind of do the pendulum swing thing, and I'm wondering if you have any tips on the best way to achieve balance with that.
Yeah, so I completely understand the conundrum. I lived like that in my 20s and most of my 30s, very regimented, very dogmatic, very like, this is what I'm doing. And it's like goal setting. You could become too myopic. You could put blinders on and you can miss all the opportunities, particularly in an ever-changing and growing and dynamic culture and community. If you become too narrow focused, you're going to miss the much better pathways. So the way that I equate it now is like, it's like freestyle jazz. It looks like it's totally free and there's no constraints, there's no structure whatsoever, but it's actually rooted on a structure, a substructure of what key, who hands off to who. There's always a basic substructure that is rigid, and then on top of that you can freestyle. But you can't freestyle without the structure. If everybody just freestyled, it would be noise. In order to make music, it has to at least be rooted and founded on a solid structure. So that's number one is that, and so what is the solid structure and where do you freestyle? So I would just say, to simplify it, put it into two different categories. Number one is like, okay, what are the non-negotiables that I will, what are my non-negotiables that I will not be inconsistent with, and what are variable? Because you're going to end up trying and doing a lot of different things, and some of the things are going to stick and some things are not going to stick. So like even just self-confession, I've tried meditating, it didn't stick. I tried stretching every day, it's hit or miss. I tried yoga every once in a while. I tried keeping in touch with old friends on a regular basis. I don't do that anymore. I had tried, getting up and moving around, in the middle of the day because I'm so locked into my own, creative process, and I do it every once in a while. I try to do it more, and but it's like if I'm not consistent with it, I don't beat myself up about it because it's not one of my non-negotiables. Now, what are the non-negotiables? Being faithful to my wife. What if I said like I'm going to be faithful like 85% of the time, like, most of the time I'm going to be great, right? No, it's like, there's no half pregnant there. So that's a non-negotiable. Showing up for people in my life, particularly when those times are important, birthdays and anniversaries and funerals and weddings. You can count on me. I'm going to show up. Remembering people's birthdays, showing up on time. It's a non-negotiable. I will be there on time. I'll be there early. Being well prepared. It looks like we're just freestyling this Q&A here. I spent hours preparing for this. I honor people's time. You're going to show up here. Some of you are showing up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Some of you, it's like 7 o'clock at night right now. I'm going to honor your time. I'm going to pour as much as I possibly can into this process. I'm going to keep my word. I'm going to stay in shape. I'm going to honor my temple. So there are non-negotiables. You just have to decide what are my non-negotiables, and then what I'm going to try. And if I don't stay consistent, I'm not going to beat myself up about it because I'm trying, and I'm going to give it a go. And if I can't master the meditation thing, if that's not for me, I'm not going to think myself of an inferior human being because it worked great for others and they're, wonderful, but okay, that's not going to be my thing. That's not one of my non-negotiables. So you just want to decide what are the chisel marks of your character, and those you want to forge in granite. And then what are the experiments? What are the things that you just putting clothes on, try it out? Like, I kind of like this one, but not so much. I think I'm going to put this one in the Goodwill pile, or it's going to be the someday pile. But the underneath are the chisel marks of my character, non-negotiable. I will be consistent with those because they matter. They matter to me. They matter to who I want to become. They matter to who I want to show up for, and that's the way I sort of differentiate between the two. But if you're trying everything and nothing is a non-negotiable, that's when people are pendulum swinging, and then all of a sudden they become inconsistent on the things that really matter, because they're trying to be consistent with everything, and so then they can't be consistent with anything. So you want to carve out what are the few critical non-negotiables, get those in granite, and try on the rest and see how it works.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Mariana, before you bring on the next guest, I just want to read off a few more names of people that we see every single morning. Mike Kesey, who's awesome. He's one of our HBF alumni as well as Andy McCartney, Drew, Chris Mangle, Stephen Fulmer, Nadina Wallace, Donald Nordang, Greg Neathling, who we see all the time, George Weeks, James Manzer, Sabine McKenna, Fiona Mead, and Susan Sykes. Thank you all for showing up and contributing to the community. All right, Mariana, our next Darren Daily member, please.
Okay, so next we have James Carroll, who's actually been a Darren Daily member for more than 3 years. So he's hardcore.
All right.
Hello. Hi, Darren. Hi, A-Team. Hello, all Consistency Challenge never miss people. Great job. Before I get to my question, I just want to say a quick thanks, actually, to Darren and the A-Team for all the great work that you guys do year-round. You guys are my Darren Daily mentors, so thank you for that. I'd also like to say a quick thanks to Darren for doing what you say, which is leading by example. Leaders should lead by example. And you've definitely, through this whole coronavirus pandemic, have walked your talk, and including what you're doing right now. So thank you for that. On my question, staying consistent is always a challenge. It's a little easier when life is consistent. But what advice would you have for us about staying consistent when life itself is inconsistent or completely unpredictable?
Yeah, hey, I love your Raven shirt there. I just talked to Raven yesterday, and he used the money that the t-shirts raised to take care of one of the two most important people in his life. And I'm going to have misspoke the semantics of that. One is Miracle, his long 30-plus year girlfriend, and the other one is Joe. And everybody didn't know who Joe was because they always talked about Joe. And we found out later that Joe is his cat. and his cat had health issues, and he had to go in, and he would not have been able to take care of Joe if he had not had the money that we gave him from the Raven Run t-shirt. So I appreciate you sporting that with us here this morning. And you ask a really great question, and I appreciate the circumstances in which you're asking it as well, because crisis or circumstance does not make the man or the woman. It reveals them. The hostage negotiator, Chris Voss, I spent some time with, he said, in times of chaos or crisis, nobody rises. They just drop back to their base default, their previous highest level of preparation. And so that's why a crisis doesn't create a leader. It just reveals. Crisis only amplifies what was already under the surface. Jim Rohn would put it this way. He says, it doesn't matter the changing tides or the shifting winds. All that matters is your set of the sail, that your personal philosophy, that your character is unchanging. You might need to adjust it to the prevailing winds, but that is steadfast. And he would also put it in these terms: time will either promote you or expose you. And crisis will either promote you or expose you. It just speeds it up. All crisis does is speed it up. And Warren Buffett said, when the tide goes out, meaning times of crisis, you get to see who's been swimming naked. And I think a lot of people got exposed as a result of just crisis happening. We see this economically. We see a lot of businesses that, they weren't doing well going into the situation, and the tide went out. And it was just all it did is sped up the inevitable. They were moving in that direction anyway. It just sped up the inevitable. So it's to use another analogy, it's like money doesn't change you. It just gives you the means and the permission to be more of who you already were underneath it, right? And bottom line is that all excuses are equal. Your diet, your exercise, being attentive to your spouse, doing good by your team. Travel doesn't change that. Travel shouldn't change your diet. Stress shouldn't change the way you treat your children, or the way you show up for your team. Being busy shouldn't change whether you are an attentive spouse. There's always time. There's always time. That whole excuse of being busy or circumstances, the prevailing winds or the tides, should not change the set of your sail. There's always time to eat right. There's always time to drop to the floor and do push-ups. There's always time to check in on your spouse. There's always time to check in on your kids. There's always time to keep in touch with the Fab Five or the dozen people that matter the most to you in your life. So when you just sort of take 100% responsibility for everything, it doesn't matter what happens on the outside. It only matters how you adjust the inside that is fixed to the prevailing winds of the moment. So great question. I appreciate that one. Mariana, please, before you do that, I just want to read off another dozen names here or so. Mark Ross, Stacy Arbetter, Jeff Fernley, Samuel Stokes, Martin Lee, Sarah Perkins, Peter John Gordon, Jordan Lane Miller, who's won most every contest we've ever done in the last 10 years, Michaela Schulte, James Manzer, Jared Rickabach, and Tom Rice, Stephen Brown, Janice Brakefield, John Flynn, Steve Highsmith, John Freeman, Mel J. Turner, Michael Kaiser, Terry Bednarks, I'm sure I slayed that one, Charlene Day, Monica Oliver, Mark Ross, and Larry Adler. We see you. Okay, Mariana, please.
You're doing much better with the names than I think I ever would. So thankfully, Jeff is next. Our next guest name is very easy for me to pronounce. He's been a Darren Daily member for a little over a year, and he's got a great question ready for you.
Hi, Darren. I would just like to say thank you so much for doing this, for selecting my question. You're a big part of my daily routine, and so I'm very appreciative of your efforts and your team. And that's kind of what I wanted to ask about today. Even in these extenuating times that we live in, one of my biggest frustrations, I've been leading teams in our organization for well over the last 5 or 6 years. And one of the things that seems like it's magnified now is you as a leader see potential in your team members, and you're trying to convince them that it's there and it's something, that there is more to what they're doing than just that primary task that they learn. And they come back with the excuses like you alluded to earlier of, oh, we can't, or we need more people, or we need this. And one of the things that is very frustrating is that's the mindset that so many people have. So I'm wondering, what advice can you offer to kind of open people's eyes to the fact that they're capable of so much more, so that they see in themselves and believe in themselves, like what I saw when I made the investment to add them to my team?
Yeah, I appreciate you wearing your Darren Daily blue shirt too, by the way. It looks great on you. Yeah.
It's not quite the same shade as yours, but it's close.
It looks great. All right. Okay, I want to say 3 things occur to me here. First off is the best thing a leader can do is to say, I believe in you, and to mean it, and to point out what it is that you believe, what you see. A lot of times you see in others what they don't see in themselves. They're too close to their own forest, and they need somebody outside of themselves to believe in them. They got to borrow your belief for a while. And that's the job of the leader, is to help ordinary people see how extraordinary they are. A lot of people have never been told, I believe in you. There's a lot of people who have come from, family upbringings or financial circumstances, you split families and so forth, and nobody ever said, I believe in you. And so that's the first thing you can do, is to pour into somebody your belief in them, and point out why, like specifically, not pandering, not being passé, but here's why I think you're amazing, and this is what I see. This is what you did that I saw. So that's number one. The second thing is all you can do is hold out your hand. They have to reach up and grab it. You can't want for others more than they want for themselves. It took me a long time trying to help people and trying to train people and trying to lift people up. It's so frustrating. You want more for others than they seemingly want for themselves. And, you try to put them on your back and you try to take them up the mountain with you. And then you all come tumbling down. You can't bring anybody where they don't want to go. So they have to decide that they want to go. They have to reach up and grab your hand. And for some, maybe it's just not now. It doesn't mean that they don't want it. It's just maybe they don't want it now. I remember being in Jim Rohn's audience, and a woman stood up and asked Jim a question. And before she asked her question, she just said, I want to tell you, Jim, how much you changed my life and the impact that you've had on my life and so forth. And Jim's response was, he said, well, I appreciate that. But I will make one correction. I was just the last person you heard when you decided to change your own life. And you did that. I just happened to be the last person you heard. He said, so our responsibility is to just keep spreading the seeds, keep holding your hand out, keep pouring out, and some will and some won't. And you can't get caught up in the ones that won't. You can just, pour into the ones who will. And then the third thing is, okay, well, what about the ones who won't? So we have an amazing A-team. But I'm telling you, if you look at our pictures, some are the A-team are no longer here. We, like any organization, people come in and they might not last. And we've got a core, what we call our original gangsters, our OGs, that have been with us for a long time. They're the core, they're the rock. They're the ones that have weathered the storms. They've proven themselves. They've made it through SEAL training. They have the ones that had the rigor, the grit, the character in order. This is who they were. This is what they were about. Some people came in and says, wow, this is what I think I'm about. And they come in and no, it's not really what I'm about. And that's fine. We hold a high standard and we do the things that we do the way we do it. And it doesn't matter. We're not saying that our way is right. We're just saying this is our way. And for some, they connect with that. And for others, they're like, no, my way's different. And we liberate them, or they liberate themselves. And so right now I feel like we got an A-team that is like super, super solid. But the amount of people that have had to come through that were here and are not here any longer, sometimes just, you have to let them find the soil that they will best harvest in and blossom in. And it might not be in your environment. And you've got to be okay with that it's, our situation is just like every organization, about 25%. We got it right about 25% of the time. And we've been at it long enough that 25% has grown and grown and grown. So we got this solid, character-rich group of A-team members, but we had to go through the 75% of people that came in, tried a little bit, contributed while they were here, and then decided to do something else, or we decided that something else would be better, and so forth, in order to keep this solid crew. But what I have to remember, because I have a little bit of a abandonment issue, is that I got to let them free. I got to let them go, and emotionally, psychologically, and focus on the ones that we have, and keep pouring into those. So those would be the few things that I would say about that. And it's not easy. Leadership is hard. Caring about people is hard. Wanting for others and seeing them not live up to the potential that you see for them is hard. But just remember, there are those that will. There are those that like you, when I look at you and you're like, this impacted my life, this made a difference. It's like, yeah, that's what we're about. It's not the other ones that like, couldn't be bothered. They couldn't show up. It's like, you got to just keep going back to the core, the ones that you're making an impact with. So, okay, before, as you get the next person ready, I'm just going to read off a few more names. Penny Miller, Karen Patterson, John Crowley, David Flask, Stacy Arbetter. I like that. Stacy Arbetter. Arbetter. Arthur Larm, Eric Felber, Jennifer Labrie, Mary Riggin, Francis Lucas, Robin Coates, George McClure. Okay, Mariana.
Okay, so next up we have Kate Wood, who's actually a newer Darren Daily member. She's only been a member for a little over 6 months, but she stuck to her 90 days, and she's a brand new member of our Jumpstart program.
Hi,
Hello.
Darren. Nice to meet you. It's wonderful to be part of this today. Thank you. It's such an honor. So since becoming a member of Darren Daily, I also purchased your book, The Compound Effect, and I've been reading that and going through the activities that you have listed out in there. And I have to say that my determination to grow and be successful has grown tremendously. And I have, I work with this throughout with people in the office and stuff. I'm outside sales, so I have to deal with inside people quite a bit. And lately more so because of this COVID. So what I have found, there's a lot of people that don't have the same determination, the same drive to be successful as I have. And that causes a lot of frustration. How can I overcome this frustration and still be productive myself and actually try and help them grow as well?
Okay, well, I would say, first off, Kate, welcome to what it's like to be the exception. You are the misfit. You're the rebel. You're the crazy one. You're the round peg in the square hole. You are the one who sees things and then does things different. So it's not them, it's you. They are normal. You are the abnormal one. And the first thing you need to do is to honor that and to understand that. The second thing is that most people actually don't lack a drive. They don't lack a work ethic. They only lack a leader. So in most cases in a leadership position, it's up to you to enroll them into the activity. Why should they have urgency? Not for you, not because of the project, not because of the deadline, not even because of the company goals, but why for them? Like, what's in it for them personally, as a sense of self-pride, as a sense of self-identity, as a sense of personal purpose, as a validation of their character. How can you attach their pride to the outcome that you seek? That's the big goal and challenge of leadership. What is the good reputation? What is the good image or status or identity that you can hold up to them? That I see you like this. This is who I see you to be. We talk a lot about this at HBF, our business masterclass, and that is, how to drive high-performing teams, how to get more out of people than they thought that they were capable of, and that is the task of leadership. Leadership is not management. Leadership is not making sure everybody's working and doing their jobs and checking the boxes. It's drawing the best out of people. You're in the people business. You're in the people development business. You're in the same business I am, trying to grow, inspire human beings to see more than they thought possible, to reach the full breadth of their capability. That's the job of a leader. We have a new training program we're going to release probably at the end of Q3 or Q4 that I've been working on for years, called The Hero's Journey. And there's a whole leadership development process inside there. The whole course is on the adventure in becoming a modern leader. And that means the emotional intelligence that it takes to connect with, to engage, and to lead a global, gender, generational, and ethnic diverse work culture. The challenge of leadership is greater today than it's ever been in the history of our human species, because of being global and because of our technology, because of the diversity that we have, and the changing times and all of our communication platforms and the deluge on our time, energy, and attention, and so forth. And so it's a great leadership challenge, and I'm excited that we're going to release that later in the year. The third thing I would say is to figure out, what is their definition of success? What are they doing? Why are they doing it? When are they doing it? Who are they doing it for? That's going to elevate them to want to do what it is that is necessary in order to achieve and become those things. And when it comes to you, it's like, you just got to point out, don't wish it were easier, just, wish you were better. That's the challenge that we all face as leaders. And then lastly, when it comes to clients, I would say that you want to make sure that your sales and marketing is excellent so that you have a full pipeline. You have more people banging at the door than you can possibly serve. And so now, instead of selling, you're able to sort. You're able to become selective. I mean, that's what we do. We work hard on communicating the value of our message, so that take the high performance forum, which is an investment, significant. It's $12,500 for leaders to come and be amongst 100 other leaders 3 days with me and our A team in live and in person. But it's sold out a year in advance, and so as a result of that, we're able to select who we want there rather than just anybody who's willing to strike a check. That's only possible when we become really great at sales and marketing. When I was in real estate, a lot of realtors, you'll just take the client a house, they'll price it whatever the client wants. They'll make all these crazy demands, and because they're so desperate for a new listing, they'll just sort of bend the will of the clients. I had such a pipeline of potential clients and prospects that as soon as I saw that this was going to be a pain in the ass, you're going to be a pain in the ass, I just fold up my tent and walk out the door. I didn't need to settle or tolerate what I thought was going to be a difficult future. So you got to get really great at sales and marketing, keep the pipeline full. And we maintain what we call a PETA list, pain in the ass. You ever become a pain in the ass in our community, we put you on a list. Like every communication we have a block list that like these people do not get communicated to again. They're, this is not a democracy in our community. You can call it a democracy, but it's run by a dictator, So no, it's just like if you came into my family room and you said things that I thought were offensive to the rest of the people in the room, we're not going to tolerate that. No, we're here to support. We're here to empower. We're here to do good work. We're here to contribute. We're here to make a positive impact. And so I want to be selective. The whole goal in sales and marketing is to not sell at all, to sort, just to sort who fits, who doesn't fit. It's got to become really great at sales and marketing. That's the other thing we do at HBF as well. So I appreciate the question. Welcome to being the exception. And life will be lonely for you. That's why we have this community. You see, last night celebrating my wife's birthday, we were with, her family. I don't relate with any of them. Holy shit, was I lonely in a room full of people last night. I was lonely in a room full of people. I left early. I left on my own. And so that's what it's like to be the exception. So just know that it makes you remarkable. It makes you rare, unique in our eyes, amazing, wonderful, and beautiful. But you will find it difficult to relate with lots of people in the world. That's why we put this like-minded community. These are amazing people who all feel the same way as you feel, and connecting with them can create the rich association base that we, as the exception, so desperately need in order to find our tribe. Our birds of a feather, so to speak. So that's why the Better Everyday community. That's why we work so hard at bringing people together and supporting each other. Okay, thank you for the question. I appreciate it. While you get the next member, Mariana, I'm going to read off a few more names of people that we see you. Raymond Campbell, Glenn Boone, Jared Penner, Carolyn Wallace, Kelly Seipel, Paul Graham, Philip Barlow, Brett Ayers, Ben Bowers, Stephen Sanford, Greg Hammond. Love that, Greg. Greg's still doing the Raven run. Guy's amazing. Susan Steber, William Adrian, Karen Laidlaw, Walter Burns, Scott Milton, Judy Norton, Brad Lundberg, Tom Chase, Lee Elton, David Strange, who's from HBF as well, John Walsh, Mark McCook, HBFer, and Scott Madden. Okay, Mariana, who's next?
Okay, so up next we have Gil, who has a question. He's been a member for 1.5 years, a little over, with Darren Daily, and he told me yesterday that he's been dying to ask you this question from the moment he became a Darren Daily member. So here you go.
Hi, Gil.
Hey, Darren. Great to be on. Thanks for this opportunity. And Darren Daily has been a game changer for me. And I really, really appreciate it. I think, it's amazing, and, proof is in the pudding as far as your achievements and just being there every day. But I just really wonder it's kind of flip side of the same coin on the days where you're just not feeling it, where, COVID's a great example where you kind of wonder, like, what's the point? How do you keep yourself motivated? On the flip side, it's such a daily, like, you get into it, you're like going guns ahead, and then how do you turn it off so you can enjoy, the time with your loved ones and just, downtime and just being. Kind of wonder how you balance that, how you do that.
Great. Okay, Gil, love your wall art there. Appreciate that. So first off, man, you got to get over feeling like it. Like there is no feeling like it. You can't wait to feel like it. Never once have I felt like working out. Not once. I hate working out. Freaking hate it. Hate every minute of it. But I do it because that's what's necessary. You can't wait to feel motivated. You just got to get started. Like that's the hardest part of any endeavor is getting started. So that's what, in Jumpstart, we're going to talk about like how to just get ignition, because once you're started, the rest is easy, but it's hard to get started. There's all sorts of mental, emotional, psychological blocks, procrastination, creative avoidance, all these things that we do to block ourselves from just getting started. And so you got to get started as though you are motivated, and then the motivation will come. Basically, amateurs are the ones who wait until they feel inspired or motivated. I can't wait until I feel like writing. I can't wait until I feel like planning. I can't wait until I feel like preparing. I just gotta freaking do it. I gotta buck up and do it. Many times before I started a keynote, it's like, Jesus, I'm just not feeling it. Well, I can't, that can't affect anything. I got to be on point. I got to be on point. These people are paying a lot of money. People flew in from all over the world. I got to be on my freaking game. Imagine if your heart surgeon was just like, I'm just not feeling it. I'm just not feeling motivated. It's like, or Tom Brady. It's like, just not feeling it. No, man, you gotta get on your game. There's no excuses. You got to be a professional. Don't be an amateur. You can't wait to feel it. Like I hope you all saw the Last Dance, the ESPN thing about the Bulls and Michael Jordan, and Game 6, Utah Jazz gets the flu. Well, I'm not feeling it. I got the flu. There would have been an easy way for him to take a pass on that. But it's Game 6. He plays anyway, even though he didn't feel like it, brutally pushing himself through it. So if you ask, when can you not walk the talk? Here's the answer: never. Well, that's not the right answer. You can when you're dead. When you're 6 feet under and there's a tombstone above your head, then you're done. But you should always be challenging yourself to be your best self. Maybe you need to go for a walk. Maybe you need to slap yourself around. Maybe you need to go watch a previous Darren Daily episode. Maybe you need to go put on some music that recharges you. Maybe you need to have a trigger that gets you back into the mood, but you can't not do it. Is the bottom line. Figure out what's going to get you back. And most importantly, I tell you, I promise, just start. Like every time I didn't want to work out, I just started. I just turned my brain off. I just started. And then you get motivated while you're doing the thing gives you the motivation. But starting it is the hard part. You got to choose what you want in life. One of my favorite quotes is from Muhammad Ali, who said, I hated every morning workout I ever had in my entire career. I hated every morning workout, but I loved being world champion. So which is it, right? You got to choose. But I appreciate the question because it's the human drama. It's the human condition. It's what blocks everybody. It's what stops everybody. So if you're feeling that way, just know that you're totally normal. It's what it is to be a human. Then you have to choose, do you want to be normal or do you want to be the exception? And so you do the thing anyway. No amateurs here, only a professional. Okay, Mariana, I'm going to get our next member ready, and I'm just going to read off some names here. These people, we see you. Bob Hawley, Todd Larson, Carl Needles, Leslie King, John Chapman, Sherry Potter, Jeffrey Reynolds, Heidi Beam, Kevin Arnett, Leslie Fiorenzo, Jim Patton, Troy Bradfield, Sally Davis, Warren Welch, Tim Talon, Rodney White, Paula Wills, Michael Pearson, Lisa Oslin, Jared Sanchez, Walter Reams, Nathan Owens, Don Smith, Dan Matthews. Okay, Mariana.
Okay, so next up we have Bill, who's been a Darren Daily member for over 3 years and happens to be a good friend and mentor to the son of our OG, Julie. So welcome, Bill.
Good morning, Darren. And I don't know if you can see it, but I have my own pandering background for you here.
Yeah, I like it.
And I'm just down the street from you in San Diego and Carmel Valley, and I'm waiting to run into you at the Seaside Market if either one of us is picking up Cart of Crack. Explain that later. I have used Darren Daily not only in my business, which I've had for 52 years, but last year I had a bout with cancer, and every morning I got a little positive boost. Just got to get this one off, and everything's fine now. But Darren Daily has been the consistency all the way through, and I appreciate that very much. And one of the things that has changed in over 50 years of being in business is my A team has changed, of course, over the years. We used to do things as a group together. One time we rented a limo and all went up to Disneyland. Well, every single person in that limo is now doing something else, but we've kept up with them. The newer group is literally a different generation, and I work remotely. We just moved into a new location, So the question that I have is, you've seen and developed your own A-team. You've seen many others along the way. What do you think is the key element that creates a positive, vibrant company culture? And don't say burpees, because I'm too old for that.
Great. Well, Bill, congratulations on beating cancer. And I have to tell you, whenever things become difficult, going back to our previous question, when you don't feel like it, when you're not motivated, I think of stories like yours, being there every day for you. Like, am I going to let you down? Am I not going to show up every day? I'm not going to put out something that I think matters on it in order for your health and wellness and vibrancy? Shit. That's what keeps me motivated. So I appreciate you sharing that story. Congratulations also for being in business for 52 years. 90+% of businesses never make it past 10 years. So the survivorship of 52 years is truly remarkable and exceptional. So congratulations on that. There's a really long answer to this one. And that answer is found at our HBF Business Masterclass. There's a lot to this answer. The short answer is at some point get to an HBF. To address it of why you need to go there is, every person will only give you about 25% of their capacity. And that's fulfilling their job role. That's actually hitting their goals, hitting their vital metrics. It's only 25% of their capability. And that's what they will give you by demand, by the exchange of a paycheck. Okay. I give you this, you give me 25% of your capacity, but they got 75% in the bucket. And that is the great job of a leader, is to get the other 75%, because they're capable of way more than they will give you voluntarily. And that is creating engagement. And how do you create engagement? It goes back to one of our previous questions, is how do you attach their identity? How do you attach their pride? How do you attach their self-esteem? How do you attach their meaning and sense of purpose? How do you give them an image and a standard in which to live up to? That's the delicate and dynamic role of leadership. So it's a complicated process. I mean, in other words, it's something that's going to require more than a 2-minute answer here. But that's the challenge, is that you are only getting 25% of anybody's capability, and that is if they are performing. If they're not performing, you're getting a lot less than that. And we know that about half the people that you have are not actively engaged. Some of them are partially engaged, and some of them are actively disengaged, where they're talking smack in the parking lot, or out with drinks, or behind closed doors, and the rest of that. And it's just the dynamics of having people in an organization of any sort whatsoever. And so there's that challenge of leadership as well, is protecting those that you've got that are fully engaged, and elevating and getting more out of that bucket of their capability, and continuing to sort the rest of the organization, and seeing who will and who won't, and who doesn't, who does, and continuing to grow and to shape the culture. You don't actually change culture. You don't shape culture. Culture is just a personality expression of the people in it. The only thing you can do as a leader is to make sure you have the right people in it. And that's why it's a recruiting issue, not an actual culture building issue. It's not Disneyland. It's not any of the rest of that. It's who you recruit, identifying what character traits that you want, how that shows up, what skills are rooted underneath those character traits, because those character traits will end up becoming the personality expression of your culture. And now how you engage them, how you drive their motivation, how you get them to rise to another level they never thought possible for themselves, incentivize and drive and lead and empower and inspire. That's the whole leadership dynamic and challenge. So, hey, you're here in San Diego. We do our HBFs in San Diego. Someday, definitely get yourself there, and we'll help take that answer to the next level. Okay, I think this is our last question. So I'm going to just read the last few names that I have here in front of me. Again, these are the people we see showing up every morning and helping and contributing and supporting each other and commenting and so forth. So we really, really appreciate it. And if I didn't read your name, it doesn't mean that we don't see you. It just means that we can't read through 10,000 names. Perry Jones, Veronica Mendoza, Candace Sherwood, Jeff Fernley, Ann Dreyer. Again, if I slay your name, I'm so sorry. Dan Roger, Todd Edwards, Brett Ayers. Okay, last question, Mariana.
Actually, I'm going to throw you for a loop. We have a bonus question before we get to our last guest, Mary. We have a dying question coming through the chat that I have been asked to get you to answer, and that is, what is insane productivity? I mentioned it earlier as we had some alums on asking questions, and we have some people in the chat who are wanting to know what it is.
So the one obsession I've had since I was 8 years old was time management and trying to get more done in less time with less pain and less stress. And there's a story to how that sort of became my call to adventure. Like that was the thing that called me to escape my circumstances, to escape my background, to escape what I did or didn't have in terms of capabilities. And so whenever, through the 25-year history of curating the success media industry, whenever I was interviewing somebody, I was always trying to find out what were their daily methods and practices. How did they operate to get leverage? How did they get exponentially more done, achieved in the same time as we all have, 24/7, 365? So that obsession for 25 years, I collected this treasure trove of what those methodologies and strategies were, and then simplified them and tested and tried and found the ones that work in the normal world rather than just one person's circumstance. And that's how I've been able to scale in terms of my own success trajectory. There's no reason why I have the life and the results that I have based on where I came from. And it has all been the methodology of learning how to gain leverage on productivity. And so I took and distilled the best of what it is that I discovered. It's kind of like, if I had worked for you for 25 years to go out and vet and filter the whole world and then, digest it down into a simple recipe formula that all you got to do is sort of follow the instructions and connect the dots. That's what insane productivity is. So it's kind of like the manifesto of my personal obsession. Distilled 25 years of that obsession put into a training curriculum so that, instead of having to take the trip yourself and suffer the fatigue of the journey, you can basically sort of get the answers to the test and start applying them into your life. And so that's insane productivity in short.
Awesome. Thank you. So our last guest is Mary, who's been a Darren Daily member for over 2 years. And I can see that she's ready to go because she's got her Raven Run shirt as well.
I do. And I was sad. He stole my thunder. I have my Raven t-shirt on, but mine went to China. I walked the Great Wall while I was doing the Great Run too. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have a photo of that?
Yeah.
Well,
I sent it through Darren Daily, but I don't know that it posted.
No, send it again, Mariana. Send it to Mariana, and I'd love to show Raven. I think he'll get a kick out of it.
Yeah. Yes. Sure. But my we're talking about this and staying daily through the 90 days was challenging. We're bombarded so differently. I don't know about everybody. There was that moment of free fall in early March. And for me, one morning, and it's got to be March 20th, and I don't know that I can quote you chapter and verse, but you said, this crisis is a great opportunity. You can do something that you before because the situation is different. And I really have that. My life today is not what I'm going to be 90 days from now, 90 days ago. Totally different. Because that opportunity, that creative opportunity, grabbed me and said, no, you're going here, girlfriend, out of this track completely. So my question is, you talk about Jim Rohn. Jim, it's not only that you met him, studied with, but something happened in your encounter with him that quantumly moved you from this track to this track. Okay. How many people listened to that same Darren Daily on March 20th? And they said, wow, that was interesting, Darren. Thanks. It'd be great. I saw it as life-changing. Okay. At some place in your journey with Jim, that that key unlocked, that doorway opened, and your journey up to then has been studying Jim Rohn. Now you've moved into a different place with him. I mean, quite frankly, I saw Jim years ago, with Brian Tracy and Zig Ziglar and Ogman, all those guys. It affected my head, but it didn't move my life quantumly. How did it change you? What was your journey?
Yeah, the story of meeting Jim for the first time is interesting. In fact, I did a project years ago after Jim had passed, and it was so, distraught that this man I spent 15 years being mentored by was no longer with us. And, I felt like, man, there's so many questions I still didn't ask. And then other people were asking me, well, what would Jim say in this situation and say in that situation? So I launched in on this project to go and write down every question that I ever had that I wanted to ask Jim, and every question anybody else wanted to ask Jim. And I was inspired by the Nat King Cole and Gladys Knight. What's the name of the song? Mariana, what's the name of the song? Nat King Cole with his daughter. Mariana, Maggie knows. It'll come to me. Basically, post-mortem of her father dying, she weaved her own voice singing a duet after he had died. So they took his recording and then they took her singing live recording, and they mixed it together so that they were singing together, because she never got a chance to sing with her father. And it was just so amazing. Like it was, so I thought, wow, what if I could ask every Unforgettable? Thank you, Macy. the song Unforgettable. I said, wouldn't it be amazing if I could take the questions that I have for Jim and then go into his lifetime of library, in his entire archive of everything that he's ever produced, which we had, because we actually we bought Jim Rohn International. We bought his legacy. We bought his entire library of content. And so it was an unbelievably complicated and difficult project. Like it was super expensive, super time consuming, but we ended up creating this program where it sounds like we are having a live conversation. I'm asking a question and then Jim is answering the question, but it's coming from some of his previous material. And we're having this back and forth dialogue as if we're in real time. And it's just freaking magnificent. It's called Lessons of a Lifetime. And so it's no longer available. It's no longer, available. But I'll tell you what, here's what I want to do. The next consistency challenge, because we had that question a lot, is like, okay, what's next? What's the next consistency challenge? That's why we created Jumpstart. You want to talk about like making a decision that you're going to come out of this crisis better than you went into it? Like you're going to draw a line in the sand. You're not just going to consume. You're going to actually change. You're going to make a hard stop. We're going from here to the next level. That's why we created Jumpstart. I first created it for my team because I knew that they needed it. And then it's like, okay, if we're going to do this, let's do it with the community, the Better Everyday community. So if you join Jumpstart, I want to give you the Lessons of a Lifetime Volume 1. This is my own sort of like personal project. Again, you can't buy it. It's not for sale anywhere else. It's actually, so it would just be a gift from me. And I think it's like seven hours of, or an hour, I don't know how long it is, this Volume 1. But I tell the story how I met Jim, my very first encounter, and what happened and what that experience was like, and why that time I was ready, why I was at that breaking point. And again, the reason why something strikes you and it doesn't strike another person doesn't mean that it's material. It doesn't even mean the person. It just means that that person was ready. I was ready at that time. And Jim just happened to resonate with me. His basic, simple philosophy was fundamental, right? I mean, there's a lot of people who like to jump up and down and beat their chest and walk on fire and do all this exotic, solutions to try to be. And Jim was like, no, success is simple. It's fundamental. And, you don't rub crystals. You don't beat your chest. You don't chant. You don't vision board. All this crazy shit is really just taking advantage of your temptations for a fast, quick, easy fix. It's seductive and tempestuous, and I think it's distracting and derailing and befuddling and taking us for fools. And Jim was just fundamental. Like it was, this is the grounding of a personal philosophy. So it just worked for me. And so that whole story and that whole process and so anyway, yeah. If you join Jumpstart, I'm going to give it to you. I can only give it inside of a closed vault access situation because it's not can be made publicly. So that's what I'll do. If you decide to go with us to the next realm, Jumpstart is taking advantage of the 5 things that I said originally about how to vet and filter and narrow down your personal growth and development. It's just in time. It's exactly what we need right now to get moving again, to bust out of this lockdown melees and complacency that we'd had. Number 2, it's studying versus just learning. We're going to apply. We're going to create that behavior modification we talked about. It's a specific step-by-step action plan that we're going to go deep on. So it's relevant and it's going to be simple, but it's going to get you actually doing. It will be something that you will measure rather than just marinate. It's not just going to be information that's going to fill your head. We're going to measure progress over a period of time. And then it's about skill development as well. So, we've done our best to try to make it super, super easy for anybody. It will be a $2,000 program. I mean, it's 6 weeks live with me, 6 weeks. Okay. What I would charge for that for an organization is just exorbitant. So it's not going to be $2,000. We made it $295, right? We're paying 85% of it. That's our coronavirus, economic stimulus plan. So I hope that everybody here, I imagine if you're showing up here, you're probably part of it. But so if you join Jumpstart, I'm going to give you the lessons of a lifetime. But the problem in rounding this out, the problem most people suffer is, they join challenges, they join diets, they join. They train for half marathons, and as soon as the half marathon is over, their training ends. And that can't be the way that you live your life. That's fits and starts. That's inconsistency. Consistency should be about character. It should be you're doing it because it's who you are. Like I don't work out because I'm challenged. I'm in sort of a fitness challenge. I don't exercise every day. I don't go for a walk every day because I'm posting it socially. So because I'm part of some sort of a campaign. I do it because it's who I am. And it's what I do. Like that's where you want to get consistency, where it becomes part of your identity, becomes part of your behavior. It's the thing you do without any outside prompts. You don't need anyone or anything. You don't need a challenge to drive your consistency. And we want to install that permanent behavior modification into your life. And that's what Jumpstart could do. That's what we try to do every day with Darren Daily. It's the reason why it would be so much better for our business if we could just let those videos be out there, SEO, juice and put the transcripts out there, but it would just be noise. We do it because you need to show up every day. You need to consume it and orient your mind for the day. You don't do it at the end of the week. You don't do it all on Sunday. You need to do it that day. Ignite your mind every day. We're driving consistency. We're driving and sculpting character. We're not just trying to fill your head full of a bunch of noise. You can get plenty of noise out there. There's plenty of how-tos on this, that, or the rest. This is a small bit to ignite your mind, orient your eyes for the day in order to start out with a mindset of positivity and abundance and seeking what's possible and probable in the world rather than all the, world just coming at you unsolicited with the negative and the scary and the dangerous and the rest of that. So that's what we're constantly driving is that consistency. It's the hardest thing for human beings to do. And that's the reason why that's what we work on the most. So that's what we do, why we do Darren Daily. That's why we're igniting this Jumpstart program. And so we work really hard at that. So I appreciate everybody's questions. Mariana, have we covered everybody? Oh, I see a sign. What was that sign?
So the next question that has been coming up a lot, especially from a lot of our IPL or Insane Productivity alums who are here with us today, is what's the difference between Jumpstart and Insane Productivity that you've been telling us about?
Well, it'd be like asking the question, what's the difference between the compound effect and insane productivity, right? So the compound effect and Jumpstart. So Jumpstart is basically taking the principles of the compound effect and igniting the principles of the compound effect in your life, applying them, integrating them. so that you are actually doing something with them. You're not just reading them, you're not inspired by them, you're not empowered by them, but you're doing something in it. You're integrating it into your life and lifestyle. So the operating system of the compound effect, right? Everything is built on top of the operating system. It's like this computer. If I install a piece of software on top of this computer and it's buggy and it crashes and it doesn't work, I can make the mistake of saying, oh, what's this software crappy? It didn't work. No, it was installed on a crappy operating system. And so what we need to work on is the operating system. Once we get the operating system to a world-class standard, then we can install the leadership software, the communication software, the sales software, the parenting software, the marriage software. And that's what the operating system of the compound effect is the operating system software underneath which everything is built on top of. The reason why you can't stick to your diet, the reason why you're good on your marriage for a while and then you drift, the reason why you're inconsistent with your leadership is because not the training and information that you're trying to put on top of your life and behavior mechanisms, because your actual operating system is faulty. So we're going to take 6 weeks and we're going to rewire your operating system layer by layer, starting with you, your choices, your behaviors, your habits, your consistency, and then your own actual results and identity associated. And when we can rewire the operating system, then we can put the emotional intelligence software on top of that. We can put the sales software, we put the leadership software. But you keep screwing up the software that you're installing because we're installing it on a faulty operating system. So you can't apply and stay consistent with the principles of the insane productivity curriculum because we're installing on a faulty operating system. So the difference, your inability to stick to your focus, to your time management principles, to your daily methods of operations, to your focused attention, to your work methodologies, all those go haywire, not because the training is not working, it's because it's installed on you and your operating system. So we got to get you, your head, your choices, your behavior, your habits, your consistency, and your identity rewired, and then literally whatever we put on top of it works to its full capacity. And this isn't hyperbole, this isn't theory, this isn't all the compound effect is, and then Jumpstart to ignite it, is me looking back and saying, what did I do in order to create this extraordinary success? Without any great innate intelligence or any unique, fantastic, talented skill, what mattered? What made the difference? How did I get here? And I deconstructed it, negatively engineered it, and then wrote about it in the compound effect. And that's the reason why, more than 1 million copies have been sold, and it has such a profound impact. But still, not enough people are actually taking what it is they're inspired by and actually integrated it into their life and lifestyle. And so that's what we're doing with Jumpstart. And then go back into insane productivity and now see how it works. Now see how it lights up your life. It had all these defects and bugs because we were putting it on an operating system that was unstable. So that's the difference. That's what it's about.
Perfect. That was the biggest question we got. We've gone through all of our questions from our wonderful Darren Daily members, and it's been a great Q&A. Everybody is absolutely loving it, saying it's the best way they could have spent their time today.
Awesome. So again, I just want to say congratulations, everybody. Again, it makes you remarkable. It makes you the exception. It is the hardest thing that we do as human beings is stay and stick with. Everybody starts, right? Everybody starts a diet. Everybody starts a New Year's resolution. Everybody writes down goals. Few people stick with them. Few people last. Few people finish. So you've done that. And you should be proud because, one discipline begets another, right? It's an ignition. It's a domino that once that one domino falls, many other dominoes without any effort whatsoever are going to fall behind it. So the fact that you're able to keep that consistency and stay steadfast should just show to yourself. If the only thing it does is prove to yourself, wow, I can't stick with something. As small as you might think it is to just show up and watch and participate for 3 to 5 minutes every single morning, 98% of the population can't do that. You did it, and it's an indication, like at least that be evidence. Wow, there's something unique and different about me than what most people can do. How else can I apply this? How else can I leverage and utilize this? So with that, thank you all for showing up today, sharing your time. I know some of you are this late at night. Some of you it's super early in the morning. And so we appreciate you very much. And I hope to see you all in Jumpstart. If not, I'll see you back on the Darren Daily set tomorrow morning. We got another great one. Choose your own adventure. You're going to like tomorrow's Darren Daily. It's fantastic, as I hope all of them are for you. I know I love them all. So I watch every morning. I'm excited. First thing I do, cup of coffee in hand, I watch my Darren Daily, write down my notes for that day. Even though I actually wrote it and produced it and edited it and all the rest of that, that's still that one little ignition for the day. So hopefully it's part of your ritual and routine every morning as well. So with that, thank you all very much, Mariana. Thank you for being a great hostess with the mostest. And bye-bye for now.